plane. Rated R.
Captain Torrance, how can I help you?
Fugitive extradition.
Oh, is he dangerous?
This island's run by separatists and militias.
Captain speaking.
The seatbelt signs have been turned on.
You're gonna need this.
And my passengers, my responsibility. We're getting off this island.
Much indestructible.
What happens when a routine flight turns into a deadly crash landing in enemy territory? Color Doll Plane 2023 delivers non-stop action, survival suspense, and Gerard Butler in a fight to get his passengers home alive. Get ready for the full story, shocking facts, intense moments, and our honest review only on Filmy Review Hub. Ma Plane is a 2023 American action thriller movie directed by Jean-François Richet. The screenplay was written by Charles Cumming and J.P. Davis. The movie stars Gerard Butler and Mike Colter in the lead roles. The story follows a commercial airline pilot who suddenly finds himself in a seriously dangerous situation. After his plane is forced to make an emergency landing in a remote and hostile area, he realizes that getting his passengers to safety won't be easy. With danger surrounding them, the pilot has no choice but to team up with a passenger who is suspected of murder. Even though he doesn't know if he can trust this man, he quickly realizes that he may need his help to keep everyone alive. The movie was first announced back in 2016. In 2019, Lionsgate acquired the project, but in 2020, the movie was sold to Solstice Studios. Lionsgate eventually got the project back in 2021. The movie was filmed in Puerto Rico, which was used to create the remote and dangerous locations seen throughout the story. Plane was released in theaters across the United States on January 13, 2023 by Lionsgate. The movie received generally positive reviews from critics, with many people praising its action, suspense, survival story, and the performances of Gerard Butler and Mike Colter. The film was made with a budget of around $25 million and went on to make about $74.5 million worldwide. That made it a solid box office success compared with its production budget. Overall, Plane is the kind of action movie that keeps things moving. It combines a plane disaster with a survival mission, dangerous criminals, intense fights, and plenty of suspense. If you're into Gerard Butler, action-packed thrillers, survival movies, and high-stakes stories, this one is definitely worth checking out. Plane 2023, full story rewritten in simple USA slang. The movie starts with Brodie Torrance, a commercial airline pilot from Scotland and a former Royal Air Force pilot. He's flying Trailblazer Airlines Flight 199 from Singapore to Honolulu with a planned stop in Tokyo. The aircraft is carrying a small group of passengers, including Louis Gaspar, a dangerous fugitive who is being transported to Canada after being accused of homicide. A Royal Canadian Mounted Police officer is also on the flight to keep an eye on him. During the flight, the weather starts getting seriously rough. Brodie knows the storm could be dangerous and wants to change the route, but one of his superiors tells him to stay on course over the South China Sea. So Brodie has no choice but to keep going. Things suddenly go completely sideways when lightning strikes the plane. The electrical and navigation systems are badly damaged and the aircraft is thrown into chaos. The passengers panic as the plane shakes violently through the storm. During the turbulence, a flight attendant and the RCMP officer are killed. Brody and his co-pilot Samuel Delay struggle to keep the damaged aircraft under control. With most of their systems down and very few options left, Brody makes a desperate decision. He manages to perform an emergency landing on a remote airstrip on Jolo Island in the southern Philippines. At first, everyone thinks they finally made it to safety, but they soon realize they have landed in one of the worst places possible. The island is controlled by armed rebels, and there's no easy way for the passengers to get out. Back in New York, Trailblazer Airlines immediately activates its crisis response team. The operation is led by David Scarsdale, who starts working on a rescue plan. Local authorities tell him that it could take around 24 hours to organize a proper response. Scarsdale knows the passengers can't afford to wait that long, so he hires a private team of heavily armed mercenaries to head into the rebel-controlled area and find them. Meanwhile, Brody knows that simply staying with the plane isn't enough. He needs to find a way to contact someone and get help. He heads into the jungle with Louis Gaspar, the mysterious prisoner from the flight. Brody doesn't trust Louis at first. After all, the guy is being transported as a homicide suspect. But Louis turns out to be much more capable than Brody expected. He reveals that he has a military background as a former French foreign legionnaire, meaning he knows how to survive in dangerous situations and handle himself in a fight. As the two men move through the jungle, they discover an abandoned warehouse. Brody manages to find a way to contact Trailblazer Airlines and even gets a chance to speak with his daughter. He tells her where they are and lets her know that he's still alive, but their moment of relief doesn't last long. A rebel suddenly shows up and attacks them. Brody is forced to fight back and kills the attacker. Louis then takes down several other rebels inside the building. While searching the area, the two men discover something terrifying. These rebels are kidnapping foreigners and holding them hostage so they can demand huge ransom payments. Brody and Louis immediately realize that the passengers are in even more danger than they thought. They rush back toward the plane, hoping they can protect everyone. Unfortunately, they're too late. The rebel leader, Datu Junmar, and his men reach the aircraft before Brody and Louis can get back. They capture the remaining passengers and crew and take them hostage. A couple of passengers try to escape, but the rebels catch them and kill them. After the rebels leave, Brody and Louis return to the plane. They find two rebels stealing luggage and supplies. The two men ambush them and force them to reveal where the rebel base is located. Once they get the information they need, Brody and Louis take them out. Before leaving, Brody writes a message that explains what happened and where the passengers have been taken. His hope is that if a rescue team reaches the plane, they'll find the note and understand the situation. Brody and Louis then make their way toward the rebel base. They sneak inside and take down several guards. After fighting their way through the compound, they manage to find the kidnapped passengers and crew. Now they have to get everyone out before the rebels realize what's happening. Brody successfully leads the passengers and crew toward a bus, hoping they can escape the area. But just when it looks like they might actually make it, more rebels surround them. Brody realizes someone has to stay behind and distract the attackers. He decides to sacrifice himself so the others can escape. The rebels capture Brody and prepare to execute him. Just when things look completely hopeless, the mercenary rescue team finally arrives. The mercenaries launch a powerful attack on Junmar's forces, taking down several rebels and giving the passengers a chance to escape. Brody is rescued and everyone races back toward the damaged plane, but the nightmare isn't over yet. The remaining rebels continue attacking them, and Brody and his co-pilot Samuel Daly desperately try to get the aircraft working again. The plane has taken serious damage, so getting it back into the air is anything but easy. While Brody and DLA work on the aircraft, Louis and the mercenaries fight off the approaching rebels. Louis gets another chance to escape with the others, but he decides to stay behind for one final fight. When a rebel tries to fire a rocket-propelled grenade at the plane, Louis takes him down before he can launch it. Instead of waiting around to be captured, Louis grabs a bag containing emergency ransom money and disappears into the jungle. Meanwhile, Junma tries to attack the plane one last time. But as the aircraft begins taking off, its landing gear strikes him, killing him instantly. Brody and the passengers finally escape the island. The airline manages to locate a working runway on the nearby island of Siasi. Brody pilots the badly damaged plane toward it and prepares for one final emergency landing. Despite everything that has happened, Brody keeps his cool and successfully lands the aircraft. Emergency crews rush in to help the passengers and crew. After surviving the crash, the rebels, the hostage situation, and the dangerous escape, everyone finally gets a chance to breathe. Brody then makes an emotional phone call to his daughter. He tells her that he's alive and that he's finally coming home. The movie ends with Brody having survived one of the craziest flights imaginable, while Louis Gaspar disappears into the jungle, leaving his fate uncertain. Casting Gerard Butler attached himself to the project in October 2019, taking the central role of Brody Torrance, a commercial airline pilot with a background as a former Royal Air Force officer, while simultaneously serving as a producer alongside Alan Siegel under their G-Base banner. The decision positioned Butler not merely as a star but as a driving creative force from the earliest stages of development. At that point, the screenplay, originating from material by Charles Cumming and later shaped by J.P. Davis and Matt Cook, centered on a pilot forced to execute an emergency landing on a hostile island after severe weather damage, only to confront armed militants and a complex alliance with a mysterious passenger. Butler's involvement signaled a clear intention to ground the high concept survival narrative in a performance that balanced technical competence with ordinary human vulnerability, a contrast to the more superheroic registers he had occupied in the Has Fallen series. Production rights initially rested with Lionsgate, yet the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic introduced complications. The studio ultimately stepped away in late 2020 after difficulties securing insurance coverage that would protect a budget then estimated near $50 million against potential outbreak-related shutdowns. Solstice Studios briefly assumed control, only for Lionsgate to reacquire the rights in May 2021 in a transaction described as high-profile Hollywood volleyball. The reacquisition stabilized the project and cleared the path for principal photography to begin in Puerto Rico that August. Mike Colter joined the ensemble in August 2021 as Louis Gaspar, the accused murderer being extradited under FBI escort, and ultimately the reluctant partner whose specialized skills become indispensable. Colter approached the role through the Meisner technique, beginning with a close reading of the script to determine how Gaspar would move, speak, and feel under the specific pressures of captivity, accusation, and forced cooperation. He formed a clear internal opinion of the character independent of any single line of dialogue, emphasizing a military background tempered by a subtle sense of personal style. Practical choices such as selecting footwear that simultaneously conveyed Legionnaire training and a degree of understated fashion awareness, helped him inhabit the physical reality of a man who spends the entire film in one set of clothes. Colter later noted that the relationship between Gaspar and Torrance constituted the primary attraction of the material. The gradual establishment of mutual respect between a square, duty-bound pilot and a man whose past remains deliberately opaque provided a dramatic arc that transcended pure action beats. Scheduling conflicts with another project that ultimately fell through left Colter available at precisely the moment the offer arrived, a timing he described as fortunate rather than engineered. Yosanan was cast around the same period as Samuel Delay, the first officer sharing the cockpit with Torrance, fresh from his role as Chen Hongwei in the live-action Mulan, and brought a quiet sincerity and technical credibility that allowed the early flight sequences to feel grounded. His presence in the cockpit sequences required sustained proximity to Butler during the intensive filming of the storm and emergency landing material, creating a professional rapport that translated into on-screen trust between the two pilots. Daniela Pineda took the part of Bonnie Lane, the flight purser responsible for passenger safety and later forced into active survival mode. Pineda's prior work in the Jurassic World franchise had demonstrated an ability to convey both competence and emotional resilience under extreme pressure, qualities essential for a character who must maintain order while the aircraft itself becomes a site of escalating threat. Kelly Gale, Lily Krug, Joey Slotnick, and others filled passenger and crew roles that required sustained commitment to physical realism. The production relied on a full scale aircraft fuselage mounted on a gimbal that subjected the entire ensemble to violent motion, dips, and rolls designed to replicate turbulence and impact forces. Cast members reported that the mechanical unpredictability of the gimbal generated genuine anxiety that fed directly into performances, with every participant buying into the shared premise that the situation could end in disaster. Tony Goldwyn entered the production later in October 2021 as filming neared completion, portraying David Scarsdale, the airline crisis manager coordinating the rescue effort from a distant command center. Goldwyn's extensive experience with authority figures and high stakes decision making, previously demonstrated in Scandal and other projects, equipped him to embody the institutional perspective that contrasts with the isolated, improvised heroism of the characters on the ground. Paul Ben Victor joined in the same late phase as Terry Hampton, the airline owner whose commercial interests intersect with the unfolding emergency. Evan Dane Taylor assumed the role of Datu Junmar, the local warlord and terrorist leader whose control of the island territory drives the second act conflict. Supporting players including Remy Adleke, Harley Hacking, and Oliver Trevenna rounded out the ensemble of passengers, crew, and antagonists, each contributing to the denser texture of a story that moves from contained cockpit tension to jungle warfare and hostage negotiation. Butler's preparation for Torrance centered on technical authenticity. He logged extensive hours in a sophisticated flight simulator located in Orange County, California, working under the guidance of professional pilots to rehearse takeoffs, landings, and every major maneuver required by the script. He also flew in small aircraft on multiple occasions to internalize the physical sensations of flight and the decision-making cadence of a working pilot. Once on set, the production supplied an actual aircraft cockpit section, allowing Butler to inhabit the environment for long stretches and eliminate any residual sense of performing rather than operating. The goal was to avoid the appearance of an actor merely pressing buttons. Every switch, every radio call, every correction during the storm sequence needed to register as the product of practiced competence under stress. This preparation extended into the action sequences that follow the forced landing. Butler performed a sustained hand-to-hand combat sequence in a single continuous take lasting more than 2 minutes without a stunt double, under conditions of extreme heat and humidity that pushed the physical limits of the entire company. The decision to shoot the fight as a owner emerged from discussions between Butler, in his dual capacity as star and producer, and director Jean-François Richer, both of whom sought the kinetic clarity and unbroken intensity that only a continuous shot could provide. Cinematographer Eric Catalan's work on the sequence became a focal point of the production's pride, with Butler describing the result as cinematically memorable for its uncompromising execution. Colter's physical preparation complemented Butler's. The two actors developed an open collaborative dynamic from their first meetings, establishing an agreement that either could offer notes on the other's performance without ego. That mutual permission allowed the evolving alliance between Torrance and Gaspar to feel organic rather than predetermined. Scenes requiring the characters to move through dense jungle, engage militants, or improvise rescue tactics were rehearsed with attention to timing, leverage, and the practical realities of combat under fatigue. Colter has spoken of the importance of every hit landing correctly within the long take structure. A single missed connection would invalidate the entire shot. The production maintained both practical and dummy versions of key props, including sledgehammers, so that the weight and impact of the objects remained credible on camera while protecting the performers. Supporting cast members, particularly those playing flight attendants and passengers, trained to respond to the gimbal's violent motion with authentic panic and physical instability, ensuring that the early sequences of the film transmitted the sensory chaos of a commercial aircraft in distress. The casting process as a whole reflected a deliberate calibration of star power and specialized skill sets. Butler's established presence in mid-budget action thrillers provided commercial ballast and a proven ability to carry large-scale physical set pieces. Colter's background in both superhero and more grounded dramatic work supplied a contrasting energy and the capacity to withhold information about Gaspar's past until narrative necessity required revelation. Anne's recent experience in a major studio production brought additional visibility and a proven capacity for understated supporting work. Pineda's genre credentials ensured that the flight crew perspective would remain forceful rather than decorative. Goldwyn's late additions supplied institutional weight without requiring extensive location time, allowing the production to complete principal photography efficiently once the Puerto Rico unit had finished the bulk of the island and aircraft material. The ensemble's willingness to endure the physical demands of the gimbal, the heat, the humidity, and the extended fight choreography created a shared commitment that the principals repeatedly cited as essential to the film's credibility. Throughout the casting and preparation phases, the production maintained a focus on character specificity even within the constraints of a high concept survival framework. Butler sought an everyman quality for Torrance, a man whose professional expertise is real, but whose capacity for violence and improvisation must be discovered under duress. Colter constructed Gaspar as a figure whose military past and personal code remain partially obscured, allowing the audience to reassess him as events unfold. The supporting players were selected and directed to inhabit distinct professional or civilian identities that would fracture or solidify under pressure. The result was an ensemble whose individual preparations and collective physical commitment reinforced the central premise that ordinary competence, when tested by extraordinary circumstance, can generate both unexpected alliances and credible heroism. The logistical path from Butler's initial attachment through the pandemic-related rights shifts to the final Puerto Rico shoot demanded flexibility from every department, yet the casting choices remained consistent with the original vision of a grounded character-driven action narrative executed at a scale that prioritized practical effects and continuous performance over digital augmentation. Reception, production, development, and pre-production project that eventually became Plane had one of the longer and more convoluted paths to the screen of any recent studio action film, passing through 3 different distributors over the better part of a decade before it finally reached theaters. It began life as an original spec pitch titled The Plane, written by novelist Charles Cumming. On July 13, 2016, the boutique production company Madrive Pictures acquired the pitch, with Mark Button announced as a producer alongside Lorenzo Di Bonaventura and Mark Varadian of Di Bonaventura Pictures, the outfit behind large-scale action fairs such as the Transformers series. The project remained largely dormant from a casting standpoint for the next 3 years. That changed in October 2019 when it was reported that Gerard Butler had signed on to both star in and produce the film, working alongside producer Alan Siegel. The following month, in November 2019, Lionsgate Films acquired the distribution rights, positioning the film as a mid-budget action vehicle built around Butler's established brand in the genre. The production's momentum stalled almost immediately once the COVID-19 pandemic began disrupting the film industry. In November 2020, Lionsgate opted to walk away from the project entirely after the studio was unable to secure production insurance that would cover a potential COVID-19 outbreak during filming, a risk the studio was unwilling to accept given the film's original budget reported at around $50 million. Rather than proceeding without that insurance protection, Lionsgate dropped the picture and the newly formed Solstice Studios stepped in to acquire the rights shortly afterward. The film's distribution rights changed hands again only a few months later. In May 2021, Lionsgate reacquired the project from Solstice Studios, a reversal that Deadline Hollywood's Andreas Weissman memorably described as a case of high-profile industry back and forth, with Lionsgate backing control and pandemic-era production protocols becoming more manageable. The film finally moved toward active pre-production later that spring. Casting filled out substantially over the following months. August 2021 brought a wave of new additions to the ensemble, including newcomer Kelly Gale. Mike Colter cast opposite Butler in what would become the film's central two-hander. Daniela Pineda, Yosanan, Remy Adelek, Hallie Hecking, Lily Krug, Joey Slotnick, and Oliver Trevena. Michael Cho, Tim Lee, Gary Raskin, Alastair Burlingame, and Vicky D. Rock were attached as executive producers around the same period. Ahead of filming, Colter discussed the project's tone in a podcast appearance, suggesting the film would lean more heavily on character development between its two leads than on non-stop action set pieces, a positioning that distinguished it somewhat from the more purely spectacle-driven entries in Butler's filmography. By October 11, 2021, as filming was reportedly nearing completion, it was announced that Tony Goldwyn and Paul Ben Victor had also joined the cast. Filming principal photography took place entirely on the island of Puerto Rico. Beginning in August 2021, the choice of location was driven in large part by Puerto Rico's film tax incentive program, and local officials were vocal about the economic benefits the production brought to the island. According to Puerto Rican government and production officials, the shoot, which unfolded across roughly 4 months and moved between multiple locations in and around the San Juan metropolitan area, was projected to generate approximately $136 million for the local economy through hotel bookings, withholding tax payments, and related production spending against roughly $26 million in local tax credits extended to the production. Filming locations included the Barrio Obrero neighborhood of San Juan, the site of the former Roosevelt Roads Naval Base in Ceiba, and the Pedrin Zorilla Coliseum, a sports arena that was converted into a soundstage to accommodate the film's interior sequences, including scenes set aboard the aircraft itself. Puerto Rico's governor at the time, Pedro Pierluisi, and the island's Secretary of Economic Development, Manuel Sidre, both met with Butler during production to highlight the project as part of the territory's ongoing push to attract major studio filmmaking. Cinematography on the film was handled by Brendan Galvin, working under director Jean-Francois Richer to translate the story's mix of aviation disaster sequences and ground-based jungle combat into a visually coherent whole across the varied Puerto Rican locations, standing in for the film's fictional Southeast Asian and Philippine settings. By October 2021, reporting indicated that principal photography was drawing to a close. Around the same time, Tony Goldwyn and Paul Ben Victor were confirmed as additions to the cast, suggesting some casting and shooting overlapped in the production's final stretch. Post-production editing on the film was overseen by David Rosenblum, tasked with shaping the story's dual halves, the technically driven cockpit and crash sequences that open the film and the ground level survival and rescue narrative that follows once Brody Torrance and Louis Gaspar are stranded. Post-production stretched across much of 2022, a period that also saw the film's release date shift. Plane had originally been scheduled for a January 27, 2023 theatrical debut before being moved up 2 weeks earlier to January 13, 2023. Music. The film's original score was composed jointly by Marco Beltrami and Marcus Trump. Beltrami came to the project as an established genre composer with a resume that includes horror, action, and thriller scores for films such as Scream, 3:10 to Yuma, World War Z, Logan, and multiple entries in the A Quiet Place franchise. Trump, his co-composer on Plane, had previously worked on projects including Love and Monsters and 2 entries in the Fear Street trilogy. The 2 composers pairing on Plane placed the film's score within Beltrami's broader pattern of collaborating with other composers on genre projects during this period of his career. The soundtrack album, titled Plane, Original Motion Picture Soundtrack, was released digitally on February 24, 2023, roughly 6 weeks after the film's theatrical debut, through the UK-based label Film Tracks in partnership with Atlantic Screen Music. The album comprises 18 tracks of original score running approximately 53 minutes in total. Unlike some of Beltrami's more thematically or texturally experimental work on horror properties, the Plane score was built primarily to support the film's action thriller rhythms, underscoring both the tension of the aircraft's emergency descent and the sustained combat sequences that follow once the survivors are on the ground. Release theatrical Plane opened in United States theaters on January 13, 2023, distributed by Lionsgate. Its theatrical bow came during the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday frame, opening alongside two other new releases, House Party and the wide expansion of A Man Called Otto, while facing continued competition from holdovers Avatar, The Way of Water, and the horror hit M3 Gan. Pre-release tracking projected an opening weekend in the range of $7 million to $10 million across 3,023 theaters. The film ultimately outperformed those modest projections. It earned $3 million on its opening day, which included $435 Zeusen from Thursday night preview screenings and went on to post a 3-day opening weekend of $10.2 million or $11. 8 million when measured across the extended 4-day MLK holiday frame, enough to place it fifth among new and holdover releases that weekend, behind the dominant Avatar, The Way of Water. The film held reasonably steady in subsequent weeks, earning $5.3 million in its second weekend and $3.8 million in its third. By the end of its theatrical run, Plane had grossed $32. 1 million in the United States and Canada, and an additional 42.4 million across international markets, for a worldwide theatrical total of $74.5 million against a reported production budget of $25 million. Trade outlet Deadline Hollywood later calculated the film's net profit, accounting for all associated costs and revenues, including ancillary markets, at approximately $35 million, a performance that was generally regarded within the industry as a solid result for a modestly budgeted January action release. Home media Plane moved to video on demand platforms on February 3, 2023, just 3 weeks after its theatrical debut. A relatively quick turnaround reflecting Lionsgate's broader release strategy for the picture. The film subsequently arrived on physical home media, including Blu-ray, standard DVD, and 4K Ultra HD formats on March 28, 2023. Reception box office Planes $74. $5 million worldwide gross against its $25 million budget represented a comfortable commercial success by the standards of a modestly scaled January theatrical release, particularly given the crowded marketplace it opened into alongside Avatar, The Way of Water, and M3 Gan. Its steady, if unspectacular, weekend-over-weekend performance in the US and Canada, combined with a stronger than domestic international haul of 42.4 millionaires, helped drive the roughly $35 million net profit figure reported by Deadline Hollywood once all expenses and revenue streams were factored together. Critical reaction to Plane skewed positive, with many reviewers characterizing it as an effective, unpretentious genre exercise rather than a prestige production. On Rotten Tomatoes, 78% of 170 critics' reviews are classified as positive, with an average rating of 6 out of 10. The site's consensus assessment frames the film as following a fairly conventional action-adventure path that sits only marginally above direct-to-video quality, while crediting Gerard Butler's presence with making the experience an enjoyable one for genre enthusiasts. Metacritic assigned the film a weighted average score of 62 out of 100 based on 43 critics, denoting what the site classifies as generally favorable reviews. Audience response tracked similarly well. CinemaScore polling gave the film an average grade of B. on its A+ to F scale, while post-track surveys recorded an 83% positive score, with 63% of respondents indicating they would definitely recommend the film to others. Beyond the aggregate scores, the film drew a notable and geographically specific controversy tied to its depiction of the Philippines. Filipino actor and sitting Senator Robin Padilla publicly condemned the film's portrayal of the country, objecting in particular to its depiction of the island of Jolo as under the control of separatist militants, and to the film's characterization of the Philippine army as cowardly. In reality, the jihadist group Abu Sayyaf did establish a base of operations on Jolo, but government reporting indicates the group was never able to fully displace the Philippine government's authority over the island, and its operational presence had declined substantially from its peak activity in the 2000s by the time the film was released. Padilla's criticism was echoed by fellow Senator Ronald De La Rosa and by then Senate President Mix Zubiri, both of whom argued that the film's portrayal risked damaging the country's international tourism reputation. The backlash prompted a formal response from the Philippines Movie and Television Review and Classification Board (MTRCB), which announced it would re-evaluate the film's classification and open discussions with the film's producers and local distributors regarding its continued exhibition in the country. Not every voice in the Philippine film community supported a ban, however. The Directors Guild of the Philippines pushed back publicly, characterizing any such move as a form of censorship and warning that it could establish a troubling precedent affecting artistic freedom around any future depiction of the country in film. The Guild also argued that Plane carried little weight as commentary on real Philippine affairs, describing it instead as straightforward, unpretentious B-movie entertainment not intended to be read as a factual statement about the nation. Amid the ongoing dispute, Pioneer Films, the movie's Philippine distributor, voluntarily withdrew Plane from public exhibition in the country on February 23, 2023, stating in a letter to the MTRCB that it intended to submit a revised version of the film for fresh review and classification. The film's modest but real commercial success, along with the willingness of critics and audiences alike to embrace it as reliable genre entertainment, was enough to set franchise plans in motion relatively quickly. In February 2023, it was announced that Mike Colter would reprise his role as Louis Gaspar in a planned sequel titled Ship, with director Jean-François Richer returning in an executive producer capacity and Mad River Pictures, the Bonaventura Pictures, and G-Base Productions all reteaming on the follow-up. Gerard Butler was not expected to star in the sequel, though the possibility of a cameo appearance was left open at the time of the announcement. Those plans ultimately did not come to fruition. By February 2026, Colter revealed that Butler had exited the project just 2 weeks before filming was set to begin, a departure that effectively led to the sequel's cancellation. Reviews number 1 Plane, 2023. A pilot finds himself caught in a war zone after he's forced to land his commercial aircraft during a terrible storm. Like a long-delayed flight held over for 20 hours or 20 years, Plane lands in cinema, carrying with it an uncanny resemblance to the cheap and cheerful action films that once dominated the multiplexes, but which are now often sent direct to streaming. The film's trailer made a small but endearing splash online, with its combination of throwback settings, airplanes, Jungle Gerard Butler looking suitably pissed off, and the reveal of a title so simple it had to be a joke. This all gave Plane a sense of being a no-strings-attached action vehicle, and to borrow the tagline from the Slasher Pieces 1982, Plane is exactly what you think it is, for better and for worse. Plane really is the unashamedly stupid film it appeared to be, and exists in two distinct realms. It's both satisfying and unsatisfying. It's reliable and familiar, but also predictable and unsurprising. It hits the beats one expects, but like seeing a band perform their most popular song for the 100th time, it feels like we're going through the motions. The years that have passed between Plane and its most obvious comparisons do offer it a bit of an edge, but that doesn't excuse it feeling so rote. The film follows commercial pilot Brody Torrance Gerard Butler, a widowed single father living a continent away from his college-bound daughter. We meet him mid-call, promising he'll see her tomorrow, New Year's Day. If this wasn't enough to hammer the stakes home, we get a spiel between Brody and his co-pilot Dele, Yoson An, in which they show each other photos of their respective families and mention once again how much they are looking forward to seeing them. Dead wives, estranged daughters, and one last jobs are all thrown in without irony, each a tick in the column of what one expects of these films. And if a subversion of these ideas is teased through the sheer absurdity of how straight they're played, then you may find yourself wanting. Plane isn't a film concerned with being clever or deconstructing anything. And to its favor, this means there's a lack of smugness, quipping, or the sort of mugging that often accompanies movies that like to think they're better than the material. But it also means there are few surprises. So when Torrance reveals he's ex-RAF, it's hardly a shock. This is Gerard Butler. He looks wrong when he doesn't have a gun in his hand. The setup required to get to this point where his palm meets steel is easily the film's strongest section. The flight, populated by a dozen or so passengers, will have to fight through vicious storms so that it can save the airline a few $1,000s worth of fuel. Most notable of the passengers is Louis Gaspar, Mike Colter, a handcuffed convict being extradited for a murder that took place decades prior. But storm and criminals be damned. Torrance is a man who's good at his job. He's not always going by the book, of course, as demonstrated by a hysterical video of him choking out a belligerent passenger, which in turn led to him being stuck piloting undesirable flights on New Year's Eve. But if anyone can get this plane home safe, by God, it's him. Butler is immensely appealing here, wearing his Scottishness with pride. At one point early on, he asks for haggis, neeps, and tatties, and with a total lack of superiority, he dives into the pilot's seat with a natural likability that only gets better with age. He wears a face of thick stubble and tangible age lines which work to give more character and texture to him, and the earnestness with which he tackles some of the most well-used hand-me-down dialogue gives the proceedings a genuine sweetness. But even a man like Butler can't control the weather. Perhaps that will come in the sequel. Soon after taking off, storms begin battering the plane. Here we get a chance to meet with some of his passengers, such as flight attendant Bonnie Danielle Pineda, who is, at a stretch, the most notable of the bunch besides Loy Gaspar, but that's only because she's on screen the most. Pineda's a good actor given absolutely nothing to do here. Elsewhere are the quickly scribbled caricatures of dickheads. Familiar face Joey Slotnick makes Plane feel even more like a 90s throwback, vloggers, and people who at most can be described as having faces. It isn't a major issue to begin with because most tickets for Plane will be purchased to see Gerard Butler. Regardless of director, co-stars, or mode of transport, Plane really could have had the alternate title Gerard Butler the movie. But the film falls in a strange, murky area in which you really don't care what happens to any one of the passengers in a film that's entirely about saving said group of passengers. After the plane gets struck by lightning, it loses its electronics and Torrance, and his co-pilot must contend with the possibility of making an emergency landing. Here there's some solid tension building from director Jean-Francois Richet. The dodgy VFX exteriors of the plane don't matter so much because inside is a pretty neat pressure cooker filled with the necessary ingredients. Gaspar makes glances towards the gun of his custodian. A stewardess killed during the turbulence. Torrance badly hits his head when he goes to check on his passengers. The film operates best when it is a tight chimpies thriller akin to Jean Collet-Serra's Non-Stop 2014 or a B-movie inverse of Sully, Miracle on the Hudson 2016. But after Torrance is forced to make an emergency landing on a small island, the film loses so much of the momentum and tension it had built to that point. After disembarking the plane and being surrounded by mysterious jungles on every side, the crew and passengers gather around their de facto leader who gives them the bad news. They are miles off course and it will take a miracle for them to be found. Then they realize the tiny island where they have to wait for potential rescue just so happens to be run by a group of militarized Filipino rebels. Plane quickly undergoes a troubling listlessness, as if by being on solid ground, it has nowhere to roam. Like waiting for a flight, all you can do is kill time until you're ready to board again. The passengers who were blanks up in the air are even more anonymous on the ground. But because we are supposed to care about them, Richet doesn't give us the giddy pleasure of seeing them get knocked off one by one. The baddies are equally uninteresting, vaguely racist caricatures who spawn endlessly and spend most of their time shooting their AK-47s into the air. When they capture the passengers and hold them hostage, there is little tension to be found, particularly as the two characters of any worth have set out on their own. Torrance frees Gaspar after his custodian is killed during the turbulence and decides that Gaspar is probably more of a help than a hindrance. The two set off into the jungle because, well, there seemingly isn't much else to do on this island. Mike Colter, Luke Cage, is a steady and reliable hand giving shades of ambiguity to Gaspar that isn't present in the screenplay. His charisma bounces smartly off Butler's. Here it's quite inviting to daydream about the two running off together to a better and more interesting film. All the more frustrating is the fact that Richet offers moments of some inspired filmmaking. Torrance's first encounter with a bad guy takes the form of a hand-to-hand brawl in an abandoned building overgrown by the plants of the jungle. The camera tilts madly one way then the other in an attempt to capture the fight, the physicality of the scene playing out in one tense long take. Torrance isn't afforded an easy first kill. It's the first and only time we feel any real weight of death and violence in the film. Later, Riche invites already apparent comparisons to video games, most notably the Far Cry series, with the tease of first-person images recorded on a soldier's body cam. And found weapons, the gruesome use of a sledgehammer is a highlight, give the sense there are levels to be worked through and bosses to be beaten. This is why it's so disappointing that at almost every given chance, it descends into mediocre gunfights shot with back and forth mechanicalness. The chances for sandbox playfulness are squandered in set pieces that lack wit and tension but certainly don't lack bullets. If the John Wick films have shown that a John Woo style inspired gunfight can still be balletic and brawny in equal measure, then Plane suggests that in the wrong hands, a gunfight is still the thudding and lazy cop-out it always had the potential to be. Scores of faceless henchmen are wiped out as our heroes run from the plane into the jungle and then back to the plane again. It feels like a fetch quest in the worst way. By the time Plane jumps out of the hamster wheel and decides, somewhat arbitrarily, that it's time to wrap things up, it is hard not to feel as if you've just been on an utterly pointless diversion. And in a sense, that's what Plane is. The bar for this kind of film is not particularly high, but the fact that this film is competent and that it exists doesn't feel enough. Its thorough lack of imagination and technical inventiveness result in a film that invites the kind of zoning out that accompanies a late-night film on TV. And perhaps that's Plane's future and the viewing configuration which will be kindest to it. It is by design intended to be half-watched. Butler and Colter do their best to give the thing some fuel, and it's an admirable attempt on their part. But with so little interpersonal drama at play, they're forced to go through the motions with their respective charisma just barely saving the day. It's true that cinemas are starved of great action filmmaking, but Plane is a mid-flight bag of over-salted nuts. It isn't truly satisfying and will leave you hungrier than you were before, but hey, it's something. UK, USA 2023 in 107 minutes, 2 in 39 1 English. Cast and crew, director Jean-François Richer writers, story by Charles Cummings starring Gerard Butler, Mike Colter, Yosonan, Tony Goldwyn, Daniela Pineda, Paul Ben Victor, Remy Adelec, Joey Slotnick, Evan Dane Taylor, Claro de los Reyes, Kelly Gale and Lily Krug, Shaft 2019, The Quatermass Experiment 1955, The Adventures of Bukaru Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension 1984. Number 2 Plane 2023 Overview Posters. Upload poster, Plane 2023 movie poster. Copyright by respective movie studios, intended for personal use only and strictly forbidden to reproduce as printed posters. Report incorrect information. Additional images. 1920 1000px, 2006 80px. Only donors and contributors can download posters. Movieposter.com, original movie posters and memorabilia. Amazon buy official Blu-rays, DVDs and movie memorabilia. eBay search for copies of this movie poster on eBay. Art of the movies 100% authentic original movie posters. Number 3 movies popular now playing upcoming top rated popular now playing upcoming top rated. TV shows popular airing today on TV top rated popular airing today on TV top rated. People popular popular. Awards popular upcoming. More discussions leaderboard support API documentation API for business discussions. Leaderboard support API documentation API for business. HANA login join TMDB overview main alternative titles awards cast and crew release dates. Translations watch now changes. Main alternative titles awards cast and crew release dates. Translations watch now changes. Media backdrops 30 logos 22 posters 102 videos clips 5 trailers 2 features 2 backdrops 30 logos 22 posters 102 videos clips 5 trailers 2 features 2 clips 5 trailers 2 features 2. Fandom discussions overview general 1 content issues 3 reviews. Discussions overview general 1 content issues 3 overview general 1 content issues 3 reviews. Share link Facebook tweet share link Facebook tweet Plane 2023 back to main. SVGs and PNGs are supported. SVGs are preferred since they are resolution independent posters. English 14 United States and US. No language 1 not specified XXX, not specified XXX, Bulgarian 1, Bulgaria BGBG. Bulgaria BGBG, Chinese 5, China JSCN, Hong Kong SAR, China JHK, Taiwan JCW, China JC, Croatia 1, Croatia ETRA HR, Croatia ETRA HR, Czech 1, Czech Republic CSCZ, Czech Republic CSCZ, Dutch, Flemish 1, Netherlands NL, Netherlands NL, Estonian 1, Estonia ETA, Estonia ETA, French 9, France FR, France FFR, Georgian 1, Georgia KGA, German 5, Germany DDA, Germany DDA, Greek 1, Greece LGR, Greece LGR. Hebrew 3, Israel Hial, Hindi 1, India Hain, Hungarian 1, Hungary Hu, Italian 5, Italy Itaiti, Japanese 2, Japan Jajepi, Korean 1, South Korea Kokar, Kurdish 1, Turkey Kutiyar, Lao 1, Lolo, Latvian 1, Latvia LV, Lithuanian 1, Lithuanian LTLT, Norwegian 1, Norway no, Persian 1, Iran Fa Ayar, Polish 2, Poland PL. Poland PL, Portuguese 6, Brazil PTBR, Portugal PT, Brazil PTBR, Portugal PT, Romanian 3, Romania Roro, Russian 4, Russia Roro, Slovak 3, Slovakia SK, Slovenian 1, Slovenia SLSC, Slovenia SLSI, Spanish, Castilian 10, Spain SES, Thai 2, Thailand 30H, Turkish 4, Turkey 30R, Ukrainian 4, Ukraine Tokwa, Vietnamese 2, Vietnam VVN, Yoruba 1, Yo, login to edit.keyboard shortcuts, uploaded at newest, uploaded at oldest, rating highest, rating lowest, resolution highest, resolution lowest, info, can't find a movie or TV show, login to create it, login, sign up, global, on media pages, on TV season pages, on TV episode pages, on all image pages, on all edit pages, on discussion pages, settings, want to rate or add this item to a list, login, not a member, sign up and join the community, login. Number 4, the new aircraft routes and airplane cabins taking off in 2023. Editor's note, sign up for Unlocking the World, CNN Travel's weekly newsletter, get news about destinations opening, inspiration for future adventures, plus the latest in aviation, food and drink, where to stay and other travel developments. The past 12 months have been an unpredictable time for airlines, with multiple global issues impacting the aviation industry, such as Russia's invasion of Ukraine resulting in overflight bans, the removal of most travel restrictions, China ending inbound quarantine, Boeing 737 MAX delivery catch-ups, and more questions about the future of 2 new versions of the 737 MAX. The year ahead looks more promising, though uncertainty is still massive. IATA, the trade association for most airlines worldwide, expects airlines to return to profitability in 2023 after a loss-making 2022, mostly the result of a COVID-19 shutdown hangover, but also the rise in fuel prices. And long-awaited new airplanes could also be taking to the skies, helping usher in the next era of commercial aviation. Risks remain though. Wars, global and regional recessions, COVID resurgence, changed travel patterns, the climate crisis, and many other factors are outside aviation's control. Here's what all of that means for travelers in 2023. Remapping the sky. COVID-19 has marked the last 3 years of all our lives and will continue to do so. But in most cases, that won't include travel restrictions. When Japan opened its doors to overseas travelers in fall 2022, it was the last major non-Chinese economy to do so. In most ways that matter to airlines and their passengers, the world is now open. The big question almost everywhere when China's quarantine and other travel restrictions will end has finally been answered. The country announced an easing of travel restrictions from January 8. Another big question is Russia. After Russia invaded Ukraine in February, Russian airlines were banned from many countries' airspace, including the EU, US, and Canada, and vice versa. Outside of the conflict zone, the biggest effect of this has been to flights between Europe and East Asia, which must either fly south of the conflict zone and over the Caucasus or north over Alaska. As a result, many European and Asian airlines cut their services. Why airline route maps look the way they do? What this means is that there are fewer flights between Europe and Asia, and quite a lot of European and Asian airlines with aircraft that they were planning to use on those routes, and they are now looking to see where else they might fly them. New routes between North America and Europe are already taking flight, with the big three transatlantic joint venture airline cartels corresponding roughly to the Onward, Star Alliance, and SkyTeam alliances, and which have been allowed to coordinate pricing between their members, adding many new routes and beefing up existing services. So, if you see a new non stop flight open up, it could be worth jumping on the opportunity. If European airlines regain access to Russian airspace and demand to and from China returns, the new non-stops might go back to requiring a layover. While we are talking alliances, Virgin Atlantic is expected to join its part owner Delta in the SkyTeam alliance early in 2023, while the long-time rumor that China Southern, by some counts the world's largest airline, will join the Onward alliance seems to be gaining some traction recently. That will open up some new connections for those airlines partners and their passengers. One new plane, but many new cabins. The Comac C91 China's first modern narrow-body airliner is expected to enter passenger service as 2022 ticks over into 2023. The new plane, seen as a major challenge to Western manufacturers, will give passengers in China a new option. Although it's not much different from the experience on a Boeing 737 or Airbus A320, there are no other new planes on the horizon for 2023. Boeing's much delayed 777X stretched wide body isn't expected to start delivery until 2025 at the earliest, and that's before test flights were suspended in early December owing to a problem with its General Electric GE9X engines. There will be more deliveries of the current generation of planes, including the Airbus A350 and Boeing 787, which means more newer jets to fly on, but also some older planes being kept in the fleet longer. On the Airbus side, the extra long-range A321XLR narrow-body is planned to arrive with airlines in early 2024, although the good news for Airbus is that the US Federal Aviation Administration approved on December 8 the design of its extra fuel tank. Comac C919. China takes on Airbus and Boeing. That means those new non-stop flights between smaller airports, notably transatlantic routes, will be announced in 2023. It's worth keeping an eye out and booking fast. We may see new aircraft variants announced. Airbus has been making positive noises about the much-rumored stretch of its small narrow-body A220 jet airliner, popular with passengers thanks to its wide seats, big bins, and large windows. As new planes arrive from the factory, they bring new cabins, like Airbus's more spacious airspace cabin with its bigger bins and streamlined aesthetic. The rising number of airspace cabin-equipped aircraft entering the market means more and more passengers will benefit from comfort features as well as connectivity. Airbus's Vice President of Cabin Marketing, Ingo Vogetzer, tells CNN. This is key for me in 2023. It is about bringing these innovations to a growing number of passengers worldwide. Also, he expects we'll see a digitalization wave into the daily business of airlines. Digitalization is helpful for passengers. A more connected airline offers more information and more self-service options, helping to avoid airport lines or long waits on the phone. Comeback trails. The huge and hugely popular Airbus A380 Super Jumbo is coming back into service. Abu Dhabi-based Etihad is the latest airline to bring its A380s back, which means more wider seats in economy on this big, quiet plane. It's great news for passengers. 20 astonishing facts about the A380 Super Jumbo. Two variants of Boeing 737 MAX airplane, the shorter MAX 7 and the double-stretched MAX 10, are currently in certification limbo with an end-of-year deadline looming. To sum up a complicated situation, US regulators want Boeing to install additional safety systems. That will be expensive for Boeing, not least because it contractually promised some airlines that it wouldn't need to do so in order to avoid them having to spend time and money training pilots on the differences. This won't likely have any short-term impact on passengers, but airlines' longer-term plans to use these planes to replace older ones and to start new routes may be delayed. Security and sustainability. At the airport, 2023 will be the year that some airports get rid of the liquid ban, where anything on the liquid paste criminal spectrum can only be carried in 3-ounce or 100 milliliter containers within a small Ziploc plastic bag. Flyers may already have experienced early versions of the scanners that allow you to leave your liquid bag and electronics in your hand luggage, but these are rolling out more widely. The UK is expected to introduce these out across airports in 2023. Keep an eye out too for more sustainability claims around flights as the climate crisis grows in importance. We have the technology to end the airport liquid ban. So why is it still in place? One side of that is the growth in more sustainable aviation fuels, SAFs made from a variety of sources, waste oils, vegetable oils, algae and so on. Virgin Atlantic recently announced it was trialing the first transatlantic carbon net zero flight powered by SAF in 2023, following similar projects by other airlines. Another side is making the insides of cabins, which are largely metals, plastics, and fabrics, more sustainable. We talked to cabin designer Martin Derbyshire from Tangerine, the design agency responsible for many of the most innovative cabins in recent times, who highlights that as designers, we have a responsibility to remove complexity, weight, and cost and deliver longer lasting and more repairable and recyclable solutions for the airline interiors industry. Our clients are demanding it, and we owe it to society to make it happen. Indeed, he says, it is astonishing that it has taken all this time to gather momentum. Without a shadow of a doubt, 2023 onwards will be dominated by environmental, social and corporate governance. Top image China's new Comac C91 passenger airplane cred. CNN said Alfidel via Getty Images. Download the CNN app. Scan the QR code to download the CNN app on Google Play. Download the CNN app. Scan the QR code to download the CNN app from the Apple Store. Number 5, Keith and the Movies review. Plane 2023-15. Check out my full review in the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. One thing you can say about Gerard Butler, he's certainly found his comfort zone, and these days it's rare to see the 53-year-old Scotsman step outside of it. Much like Liam Neeson, Butler has settled into making easy-to-digest action-heavy thrillers. To his credit, his movies tend to come with a slightly higher budget, with Butler often serving as his own co-producer. Following last year's thrill-free thriller Last Seen Alive, Butler returns with the generically titled but surprisingly propulsive Plane. This time around, he plays a commercial pilot named Brody Torrance. That's such a Jerry Butler character name. While it may not spot the most inspired title, Plane turns out to be a lot of fun, and it lands at a good time, as many of us have been, and in some cases still are, cramming a steady diet of prestige films and awards contenders. It was kinda nice to sit back and take in a straightforward no-frills action flick. Plane is directed by Jean-François Richet, working from a script by screenwriter J.P. Davis and spy novelist Charles Cumming. Their story offers up a hearty helping of old-school action with some light survival thriller elements thrown in. Its framework may be pretty standard issue, but it's well shot and especially well paced. Richet keeps his story and his audience steadily moving forward, spending just enough time on the details to keep us on board. And Butler makes for a sturdy and believable lead. On New Year's Eve, Captain Brody Torrance is set to fly Trailblazer 119 and its 14 passengers from Singapore to Tokyo. After the 6-hour and 30-minute flight, it's off to Maui, where he'll spend a few days with his daughter Daniela, Hallie Hecking. Once on board, Brody meets his co-pilot for the flight, Yoson An, and the head flight attendant Bonnie Daniela Pineda, and begins preparing for takeoff. The only concern is a heavy patch of storms over the South China Sea, which Brody recommends flying around, but the higher-ups would rather save fuel than add another hour to such a small flight. So they urge Brody to push through the weather, adding yet another wrinkle just as they are about to start boarding passengers. A federal marshal escorts Louis Gaspar, Mike Colter, onto the plane. He's a fugitive who was apprehended in Bali and is being extradited to the States for a homicide committed 15 years ago. After a smooth takeoff, they hit the storm while flying over the Philippines. Brody attempts to climb to 40,000 feet to clear the weather, but the plane is struck by lightning and loses power, forcing him to make a daring emergency landing. Once on the ground, Brody realizes he has landed on Jolo, a volatile island controlled by anti-government militias and separatists. In a snap, his job goes from getting his passengers safely on the ground to getting them safely off the island. But to pull it off, he'll need help from an unexpected source, Louis Gaspar. Meanwhile, back at Trailblazer headquarters in New York, A no-nonsense crisis manager named David Scarsdale, a really good Tony Goldwyn, is called in to find the downed plane and extract the survivors before they're captured and killed by a ruthless and eruptive militia commander, Evan Dane Taylor. And so the table is set. Richer never stays in one place very long, and the action quickly moves from a simmer to a boil. It can get a little brutal, especially in its bullet-riddled finale. But Richer never goes overboard. Outside of Butler's Brody and Colter's Gaspar, to a degree, everyone else are basically well-acted stock characters. But that's okay in a movie like this. Some do get lost in the chaos, but most play their parts and fill their roles well. Outside of some shaky CGI effects and its one-dimensional yet admittedly menacing villains, Plane is every bit the movie it sets out to be. For action fans, it'll be right up their alley. For Butler loyalists, I'm assuming they exist, this is one of their man's better movies. For those who simply want to kick back, unplug, and unwind, Butler and Company have just what you're looking for. Sure, movies like this are a dime a dozen, but when they're done this well, you can't help but have a good time. Plane lands in theater today, January 13th. Verdict 3.5 stars. Number 6, The Bad Movie Marathon. Plane 2023. The Crash was only the beginning. Survive together or die alone. Directed by Jean-François Richer. Bloodfather starring Gerard Butler, Angel Has Fallen, Mike Colter, Zero Dark 30, Yoson An, Mortal Engines, Tony Goldwyn, Divergent, Daniela Pineda, Jurassic World. Fallen Kingdom and Evan Dane Taylor acting debut. Former RAF commercial pilot Brody Torrance Butler is flying a half-empty plane from Singapore to Honolulu via Tokyo. When the airline orders a flight path through a storm to save money, the plane is disabled. Torrance and his co-pilot Sam Dale Ann land the plane safely, but they realize they are on an island run by local warlords with minimal chance of a quick rescue and an indicted murderer, former French Foreign Legionnaire Louis Gaspard Colter among them. Torrance and Gaspard head out to find a phone and manage to get a message to the airline, but also run across armed guards and a ransom video for Execution Studio. As the airline brings in crisis manager Scarsdale, Goldwyn, who employs a mercenary group to retrieve the passengers, the forces of local warlord Datu Junmar, Taylor, take all but Torrance and Gaspar hostage. Torrance gets a message back via his daughter, then he and Gaspar free the hostages. Torrance is willing to give himself up to save the others, but Scarsdale's mercenaries show up to rescue him. Everyone heads back to the plane, Torrance and Deal get basic control back, and everyone escapes but Gaspar, who vanishes into the jungle with the mercenaries' hostage fund. What's wrong with it? There is very little tension in this film. The idea of a bunch of ordinary people stuck on an island full of vicious pirates has potential, but honestly, the film presents the biggest mismatch since the last time Steven Seagal made a movie. The militia kill a Korean couple early doors, but Gaspar makes them look like chumps even before the mercenaries turn up with their heavy fight hour. This is also not the most sensitive portrayal of the Philippines, with various characters explaining that the authorities have straight up abandoned the island to what are, as noted, a bunch of gun-toting chuckleheads who can't deal with an RAF transport guy and one ex-paratrooper. The characters are thinly sketched. At best, Torrance has his job, a backstory, and his daughter, which puts him at least one up on anyone else on the plane. Dell has his job and a family. Caspar only his backstory. And even with nothing to define her but her job, Cabin Chief Bonnie Lane, Daniela Pineda, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom is doing better than most of the passengers. What's right with it? Honestly, I like Butler much better when he's not a one-man army. He has a face that was born to be angry and out of its depth, and the look of a man who has taken a lot of punishment from life. Mike Colter, on the other hand, was born to play a one-man army. How bad is it really? Honestly, in the 80s or even in the 90s, this film would have stood high and proud above the crowd, but the world has moved forward. Plain isn't bad, it's just basic. It probably would have been better focusing on a sort of enemy mine deal with Gaspar and Torrance, or if there was a more immediate sense of danger to the passengers. Best bit, if such there is. Confronting the man who made the call to save a few grand in fuel by routing the plane through a storm, Goldwyn's Scarsdale gives a masterclass in verbal shade. What's up with the general haplessness of the militia? I mean, Points for not throwing in a gratuitous rape attempt, because that absolutely would have been there in the 80s and probably also the 90s, as well as a totally incongruous strip club where the militia all hung out. The 80s? Seriously? I'm not sure how an entire decade of cinema becomes an incel, but happened. Nothing to do with this movie, of course. I'm just going sort of freeform here. Ship. Apparently, this is the planned sequel starring Colter's Gasper. As if anything got better for B on a boat in the sequel. Looking at you, speed to 2, cruise control, ratings. Production values with a beggarly $25 million budget. Plane makes good use of its location, Puerto Rico, rather than the Philippines, and a single room set for the crisis control room and some limited explosions. 6 dialogue and performances, nothing really pops, but Butler is an old hand at this, and Colter's unflappable badass game is strong. The supporting turn are given little to do but do it well. 9 plot and execution, the film does its business and leaves without outstaying its welcome, but the sense of peril declines steadily from the midpoint. 14 randomness, honestly. As the film goes on with the militia looking increasingly outmatched, I really started to hope for some unexplained kaiju. 2 waste of potential. A promising setup is squandered by a lack of peril. 16. Overall 47%. Good. Bad. I'm the one with the blog, a great WordPress.com site, all things SFNF related, mostly books. 50,000 monkeys at 50,000 typewriters can't be wrong. A novelist's look at veterinary school, the writing process, and all art that inspires me. Also, I now apparently review bad movies and TV shows, movie reviews and ramblings from an Australian-based film fan. She knits, she watches movies, horror, action and exploitation movies that aren't really awful at all. Number 7, Plane 2023 Blu-ray 2550. Original price was $25.50, $50, 21 known. Current price is 20 new. Ship to worldwide free shipping. Free worldwide shipping on all orders over $20. 30 days easy returns. 60 days money back guarantee. Description. Review 0. Plain Blu-ray 2023 with artwork, Blu-ray and case. Movie in the English language. We will delivery worldwide. 60 days money back guarantee. We accept returns but only in the case that buy iFair for return pearl. Payment details https://scanema.com or 2/shipping details https://scanema.com shipping delivery/. Contact us, email and live chat galadas https://kannadamart.com contact us /bodadust. May leave a review related products. 9% TV series Blu-ray, TV series DVD, TV series pendrive C 2019 complete first season Blu-ray Solace DVD USB $25.50 $27 price range $25.50 through $27. Select options. This product has multiple variants. The options may be chosen on the product page. 14% TV series Blu-ray, TV series DVD, TV series pendrive Glow 2019 complete third season Blu-ray DVD USB $25.50 $27 price range $25.50 through $27,000. Select options. This product has multiple variants. The options may be chosen on the product page. 13% TV series Blu-ray, TV series DVD, TV series pen drive, White Lines 2020 complete first season Blu-ray, DVD, USB $25.50 $27 price range $25.50 through $27. 00 select options. This product has multiple variants. The options may be chosen on the product page. 13% TV series Blu-ray, TV series DVD, TV series pen drive Ragnarok 2020 complete first season Blu-ray DVD USB $25.50 $27. 00 price range through $25.50 select options. This product has multiple variants. The options may be chosen on the product page. 13% TV series Blu-ray, TV series DVD, TV series pen drive Rise of Empires. Ottoman 2020 complete first season Blu-ray DVD USB $25.50 $27 price range $25.50 through $27 select options. This product has multiple variants. The options may be chosen on the product page on all orders above $20. 60 days money back guarantee with tracking number PayPal, MasterCard, Visa. Number 8 Entertainment Plane 2023 movie review. Robert Winfrey and Mark Radulik present their Plane 2023 movie review. Plane is a 2023 American action thriller film directed by Jean-Francois Richet, written by Charles Cumming and J.P. Davis, and starring Gerard Butler, Mike Colter, Yosonan, and Tony Goldwyn. The film centers around a pilot butler allying with a prisoner, Colter, to save his passengers from a hostile territory they landed in for an emergency landing. The film was announced in 2016, acquired by Lionsgate Films in 2019, sold to Solstice Studios in 2020, and reacquired by Lionsgate in 2021. It was shot in Puerto Rico. Plane was released in the United States on January 13, 2023. It received generally positive reviews from critics and has grossed $12 million worldwide. Check out our other new movie reviews. Thank you for flying Trailblazer Airlines Plane 2023 movie review. You can now watch many episodes of Radulik in Broadcasting's various shows in video format on the W2M Network YouTube channel. About Damn You Hollywood, it started out as just a series of summer blockbuster reviews. Since then, it has grown to a nearly weekly movie review show. Robert Winfrey and Mark Radulich take on the big-budget studio films and animated features that have of late migrated out of the summer season and have dotted the calendar almost all year long. Winfrey and Radulich critique all of the elements of the movie, but that's not all. They discuss the money, i.e. budgets, did it open one, projected worldwide gross, etc. Lastly, the duo criticizes the critics. Radulik reads selected bits from Rotten Tomatoes and Winfrey attempts not to have an aneurysm. It's fun for the whole family. Listen on your favorite podcast service, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube. Social media links. Subscribe to the W2M Facebook page for more information on all our podcasts. Twitter, W2M Network, Robert Winfrey, Alexis Hejna, and Mark Radulik. About Radulik in broadcasting's beginnings. Mark Radulik has been an internet personality since 2004 with his Progressive Conservatism blog. He then took that blog to the airwaves and created a podcast for it. It then changed to PC Live. After that, he brought out the 4-on-1 Mania Ground and Pound Radio as well. Also, Mark would partner up with another Fallen Mania alum, Sean Comer, to create the movie franchise review podcast Long Road to Ruin, and then Robert Cooper to create the metal album review podcast The Metal Hammer of Doom. Robert Winfrey then added his own podcast Everybody Loves a Bad Guy. That's when the Radulik in Broadcasting Network was born. Joining Winfrey in having their own podcast were superfan Jesse Starcher, source material. Finally, Winfrey and Radulik added a weekly movie review show to the ever-growing list of podcasts on network called Damn You Hollywood, Robert Winfrey. Mark and Robert fell into the movie review thing almost by accident. They'd gotten together a couple of times to discuss particularly divisive movies and discovered that his love of big-budget blockbusters both complemented and clashed with Robert's perspectives. Plus, they both genuinely enjoy talking movies with each other. What started out as a summer exclusive series has now expanded to a near year-round, almost weekly outing because they enjoy talking movies with each other so much. Robert also hosts the 4111 Ground and Pound Radio, while also guest hosting on other shows on the RIBN network when possible. About the author Mark Radulik. Number 9 Plane 2023 details for in theaters, theaters near. Calendar for movie times is selected. Movie times calendar, loading calendar, filter movie times by screen format is selected. Know when tickets go on sale. We'll notify you when tickets go on sale in your area and more for Plane 2023. Featured news. Frequently asked questions. Special offer. Buy a ticket to By Any Means. Get the Mark Wahlberg 5 movie collection for $7.99. Limited time offer. Log into your account on Fandango.com or the Fandango app and purchase between 6 a.m. PT on 8/17/26 and 11:59 p.m. PT on 9/20/26 at least one movie ticket to By Any Means. Purchaser will receive a post-purchase email containing one Fandango promotional code that is good for the purchase and not the rental of the Mark Wahlberg 5 movie collection for $7.99 in my offers in your account on http frafandangoatom.com and via participating Fandango apps. You must have and be logged into your Fandango account to receive and redeem a code. Fandango is free to join. You must be 18 years of age or older to create a Fandango account. Code expires on and must be used by 9/23/26 at 11:59 p.m. PT. Limit 1 per transaction. You may have to pay taxes additionally, one-time use only. Void where prohibited. If lost or stolen, cannot be replaced. Offer is non-transferable and cannot be combined with any other offer or discount. No catch value except as required by law, not for resale, void if sold or exchanged. Offer valid in the US only. excluding US territories and where prohibited by law. Credit card may be required for transactions on fandangoathome.com. Fandango reserves the right to modify or cancel this offer at any time and without notice. This offer and redemption of the code are subject to Fandango's terms and policies and privacy policy at http://www.fandango.com.mers and policies. Special offer. Surprise a loved one with an exclusive gift card to see House of Worship in select theaters. To send a House of Worship gift card 1, visit Fandango at www.fandango.com. Fandango gift cards 2. Scroll to select your design under movie gift cards to find House of Worship 3. Choose email card, digital 4. Personalize your digital gift card. Select the amount, OKT, recipient, message 5. Schedule delivery. Special offer. Get the Practical Magic 2 Popcorn Bucket Bundle and receive a movie ticket to Practical Magic 2 plus an exclusive Margarita Popcorn Bucket. Practical Magic 2 Popcorn Bucket Bundle is non-refundable. Domestic shipping will be added at checkout. Limited time offer while supplies last. Movie ticket is non-refundable and non-exchangeable. Fandango reserves the right to modify or cancel this offer at any time and without notice. Popcorn not included. You must be 18 years of age or older to purchase a bundle. The Margarita Popcorn Bucket will begin shipping in September. Please use a physical US address where the Margarita Popcorn Bucket shipment can be delivered. Once carrier confirms delivery, Fandango is not responsible for lost or stolen deliveries. See full terms and conditions at https://store.fandango.com. Practical Magic 2 Margarita Popcorn Bucket. Join fan club to get 2 free tickets. Get 2 free tickets to use later when you join fan club with your POB Patrol, the Dino movie ticket order, the Paw Patrol. The Dino Movie 2 free tickets later fan club promotion offer. The offer begins 8/3/26 and will run for a limited time. Offer valid for new fan club members only. To be eligible, you must subscribe to a 1-month paid fan club membership, $9.99 plus tax, then $9.99 per month thereafter until cancelled when purchasing tickets to Paw Patrol, the Dino Movie on the Fandango website or mobile app. Eligible members will receive 2 free ticket promo codes via email within 24 to 48 hours after successful fan club sign up. To redeem the offer, you must complete checkout while an eligible fan club membership is in your cart. Offer valid in the US only, excluding US territories and where prohibited by law. Void where prohibited. Adjustments to prior purchases not permitted. Taxes may apply. Offer may only be redeemed once per person. Fandango is not responsible for lost, delayed, undeliverable, or misdirected emails. Fandango reserves the right to withdraw or modify this offer at any time in its sole discretion and without notice. Additional terms and conditions apply, including Fandango's terms and policies at www.fandango.com.harms and policies. Special offer. Get the Wild Hearts exclusive bundle and receive 1 ticket to Katsai, Wild Hearts and an exclusive photo card set. Wild Hearts exclusive bundle is non-refundable. Domestic shipping will be added at checkout. Limited time offer while supplies last. Movie ticket is non-refundable and non-exchangeable. Fandango reserves the right to modify or cancel this offer at any time and without notice. You must be 18 years of age or older to purchase a bundle. The Fandango exclusive Katsei Wild Hearts photo card set will begin shipping in September. Please use a physical US address where the photo card set shipment can be delivered. Once carrier confirms delivery, Fandango is not responsible for lost or stolen deliveries. See full terms and conditions at https://redeem.fandango. Dagax Wild Hearts bundles. Special offer. Get the Spider-Man Brand New Day exclusive poster bundle and receive 1 ticket to Spider-Man Brand New Day and an exclusive poster Spider-Man Brand New Day exclusive poster bundle is non-refundable. Domestic shipping will be added at checkout. Limited time offer while supplies last. Movie ticket is non-refundable and non-exchangeable. Fandango reserves the right to modify or cancel this offer at any time and without notice. You must be 18 years of age or older to purchase a bundle. The exclusive poster will begin shipping in July. Please use a physical US address where the exclusive poster shipment can be delivered. Once carrier confirms delivery, Fandango is not responsible for lost or stolen deliveries. See full terms and conditions at https://store.fandango. Products, Spider-Man Brand New Day exclusive poster. Special offer. Experience the end of Oak Street in IMAX and get $7 off an IMAX ticket with code Oak Street IMAX. Limited time offer. while supplies last. There is a limited quantity of code redemptions allowed in this promotion. Log into your Fandango account on fandango.com or via the Fandango app between 9:00 a.m. on 7/22/26 and 8/26. Purchase 2 or more IMAX tickets to see The End of Oak Street at a participating Fandango theater and enter the Fandango promotional code OakStreetIMAX code to receive up to $14 off your purchase. Code expires and can no longer be used if not redeemed by 11:59 p.m. on 8/26/26, or when the limit of code redemptions is reached, or when The End of Oak Street is no longer available in IMAX theaters, whichever comes first. Code must be entered at checkout. Only valid for purchase of movie tickets made at fandango.com or via the Fandango app and cannot be redeemed directly at any theater box office. You must have and be logged into a Fandango account to redeem the code on Fandango. Fandango is free to join. You must be 18 years of age or older to create a Fandango account. If cost of movie tickets and associated fees and charges is more than code's maximum discount, then user must pay the difference. Any price difference between total transaction price and code's maximum discount will not be refunded. One-time use only. Void where prohibited. Offer is non-transferable and cannot be combined with any other offer or discount. No cash value except as required by law. Not for resale. Void if sold or exchanged. Offer valid in the US, only excluding US territories and where prohibited by law. You may have to pay taxes additionally. Limit 1 code redemption per person. Fandango reserves the right to modify or cancel this offer at any time and without notice. This offer and redemption of the code are subject to Fandango's terms, policies, and privacy policy at http://www.fandango.com.terms and policies. Special offer: buy a ticket to Avengers Doomsday. Get a chance to win a trip to the premiere. No purchase or app necessary. Purchase does not increase chances of winning. Open to legal residents of the 50 United States and DC, 18 years of age and older, provided, however, that at least one person traveling must be 21 plus. Void where prohibited. Ends November 9, 2026. Visit https://www.fandangomovietickets.com Super Premier Sweepstakes. Sponsor Fandango Media LLC, 10 Universal City Plaza, Universal City, CA 91608. Special offer: buy a ticket to Pay Dabio Patrol. The Dino movie in theaters. Get $10 off the Pay Dabio Patrol themed Amazon Echo Pop. Limited time offer while supplies last. There is a limited number of redemptions available in this offer. Log into your account on fandango.com or the Fandango app between 6:01 a.m. PT on 7/21/26 and 11:59 p.m. PT on 8/30/26 and purchase at least one movie ticket to PA Patrol, the Dino movie. Purchaser will receive a post-purchase email containing one discount code that is redeemable for one exclusive $10 off code for the PA Patrol themed Amazon Echo Pop while supplies last. PO Patrol themed Amazon Echo Pop will start shipping in August. There is a limited quantity of codes available in this promotion. Codes will stop being distributed on the earlier of the code distribution limit being reached. IPA Patrol, the Dino movie no longer being in theaters, or 11:59 p.m. PT on 8/30/26. Code expires and can no longer be used when the limit of code redemptions has been reached or at 11:59 p.m. PT on 8/30/26, whichever comes first. Limit 1 code per transaction. You may have to pay taxes additionally. One-time use only. Void where prohibited. Offer is non-transferable and cannot be combined with any other offer or discount. If lost or stolen, cannot be replaced. No cash value except as required by law. Non-transferable. Not for resale. Void if sold or exchanged. Offer valid in the US only. You must have and be logged into your Fandango account to receive a code. Fandango is free to join. You must be 18 years of age or older to create a Fandango account. Fandango reserves the right to modify or cancel this offer at any time and without notice. This offer is subject to Fandango terms and policies and privacy policy at terms and policies at http://www.fandango.com.terms and policies. Number 10 Plane 2023 movie trailer. Pilot Gerard Butler defends his passengers in Jean-François Richet's action thriller Plane trailer. Jean-François Richet's Plane 2023 movie trailer has been released by Lionsgate. The Plane trailer stars Gerard Butler, Mike Colter, Yosonan, Paul Ben Victor, Daniela Pineda, Remy Adelek, Joey Slotnick, Evan Dane Taylor, Claro de los Reyes, and Tony Goldwyn. Crew: Charles Cumming and J.P. Davis wrote the screenplay for Plane. Name created the music for the film. Name crafted the cinematography for the film. Plot synopsis. Plot synopsis. Survive together or die alone. Commercial pilot Brody Torrance Gerard Butler makes an emergency landing after a ravaging storm damages the aircraft. The plane lands in hostile territory in the middle of a war, leaving the passengers vulnerable to local militants attempting to take hostages. However, Brody decides to fight back and protect the passengers until help arrives. On movie trailers, a trailer, also known as a preview or attraction video, is a commercial advertisement. Originally for a feature film that is going to be exhibited in the future at a movie theater, Dalinema. It is a product of creative and technical work. Trailers consist of a series of selected shots from the film being advertised. Since the purpose of this advertisement is to attract an audience to the film, these excerpts are usually drawn from the most exciting, funny, or otherwise noteworthy parts of the film, but in abbreviated form and usually without producing spoilers. For this purpose, the scenes are not necessarily in the order in which they appear in the film. This type of ad has to achieve that in less than 2 minutes and 30 seconds, the maximum length allowed by the MPA. Each studio or distributor is allowed to exceed this time limit once a year if they feel it is necessary for a particular film. Film review, Plane, 2023. Jean-Francois Richet's action film has plot holes but is saved by a solid turn from Gerard Butler, January 14, 2023. Greenland 2 Migration, 2026. Movie trailer 2, Lionsgate's epic apocalyptic survival sequel, December 17, 2025. The feature movie trailer. Watch the Plane trailer. Leave your thoughts on it below in the comments section. Readers seeking to support this type of content can visit our Patreon page and become one of Filmbook's patrons. Readers seeking more movie trailers can visit our movie trailer page, our movie trailer Twitter page, and our movie trailer Facebook page. Plane will be released in US theaters through Lionsgate on January 23, 2023. Want up-to-the-minute notifications? Filmbook staff members publish articles by email Feedly, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, Pinterest, Reddit, Telegram, and Flipboard. Plane trailer-related articles, Rollo Tomasi, Facebook, X, Flickr, YouTube, Pinterest, Instagram, TikTok,